Hey everybody, Tim here for tonight's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 2, and Astra per Aspera, or as I learned in this episode, it's Latin to the stars through hardship. Okay. It is my day off, and I've had a lot to drink today. So there's going to be a lot of rambling for this one, so buckle in. If you just, the Cliff Notes, I liked it. Now, for the rambling. When I was in high school, I had tried to get a term started. I used to call myself a star crosser. Never picked up because you never hear anybody say it. And that was because I was such a nerd and I love Star Trek and Star Wars and Stargate and Battlestar and Sequest, but whatever. And so anything with the name Star in it, I was really into it. And then, so to clarify, I like Star Trek and Star Wars, as I have done several Star Wars videos. And so my biggest complaint with Star Wars, I say all of that just to clarify that I'm not just like hating on Star Wars. My biggest complaint for Star Wars was, and this was years ago, and it hasn't really gotten better, was everything was so focused on this one little time period, and everything was so focused on this one subject. And I was like, this whole universe is so fucking huge. You could literally do anything. You could make a movie that's a horror movie. You could make a buddy cop movie set on Coruscant, like Lethal Weapon, but on Coruscant. Like, you could do whatever the fuck you want. But you know what? No, we're going to focus on the Skywalkers fucking up the galaxy. And that was my biggest complaint. And I do think they've gotten a little bit better in there. That being said, I think Star Trek has done a really good job of like, hey, there's a little bit for anybody. It's funny because the Star Trek fans are becoming the Star Wars fans where they're just hating each other. But I think Star Trek kind of covers a little bit of everything. This also briefly came up when I was watching Gotham. If you guys watch Gotham, when it was first announced, I was like, yeah, it's going to be Law and Order, but with Batman. And it was not. And I was very disappointed. So this episode I loved. I thought it was a fantastic episode. I thought it was really, really well done. It is the companion to the season 2 premiere, as I kind of predicted it was going to be, because that episode started with Pike being like, I'm leaving. And then, poof, we're right into this one. I almost want to see like a fan edit where they take the 2 episodes, but actually like put them together so it's one long episode. Probably wouldn't work very well, as that's why it's 2 episodes. Now, is this episode unique? No. This is definitely like a Measure of a Man type material where like Data is on trial, like, but it's done in a very, very well done way. And to go back, I have drank so much that I've looped back around to like being sober, because this episode was very like, oh shit, like this shit's real. Now, when it first started off, I was a little bit nervous, because again, I'm going to hate on Discovery. I'm sorry, it's not who I want to be, but it's a fact. One of my big problems with Discovery is the show starts with Michael committing mutiny, and then like everybody's like, oh no, that's fine. Let's just ignore that. And then she like moves her way up through the ranks, and like coming from a military background and stuff like that, it's like that's not how that works. But then this show kind of flips that, and it's like, just because it's a law doesn't make it just. And I'm like, you are right. But still, fuck Michael. Like, no, she should never have been a captain. Anyway, got that out of my system. They do talk about the eugenics wars a little bit, which I feel like is slowly becoming retconned. Because if I remember in Space Seed, it took place in the 90s. I think like 92 or 93. But I feel like that's getting retconned. So when they're doing their proceeding, whatever, I could be mistaken, but I believe the judges are a Tellarite, a human, and a Vulcan, which is 3 of the, I think it's the first 3 of creating Starfleet. I think the 4th was Andorian, but I think that those were 3 of the big ones to like coming together as a unified thing. So that was kind of interesting, was seeing those three. And I was like, wait a minute. They talked about General Order 1 a little bit, and the Prime Directive, which I really liked. As somebody who is still currently drinking, the scene where Pike pours April's drink into his, I was like, props to no alcohol abuse happened. We still don't have a full picture on what's going on with La'an, but it is made 100% crystal clear she is related to Khan Noonien Singh. So I'm still kind of curious what's going on with that. And again, like, just, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird connection that I don't like. I don't like the fact that there is a Noonien Singh on the bridge of the Enterprise when in like 7 years or whatever is when Space Seed is going to happen. And Spock is going to be like, I didn't know who this was, even though like your great-granddaughter was on board. I don't like it. But I still love La'an. Like, she has won me over. I really, really do like her. One of the things that kind of, I was like, wait, what? And this is, I've mentioned this in other Star Trek videos where people give direct quotes, is when Una says, like, the title, Ad Astra per Aspera. It's to the stars through hardship. And she's like, and they say, could you translate that? And I was like, aren't we all wearing translators? Like, shouldn't she have just automatically, like, when we heard it, have been translated? So that kind of made me laugh a little bit, because we've seen that in other episodes where they're like technically Worf should never say Qapla'. Like, every time you hear him say Qapla', everybody should just be hearing success. So it's just kind of weird. That being said, one of my favorite movies, like maybe top 10 favorite movies, is The Punisher from like 2004 or whatever, with Thomas Jane and John Travolta and Rebecca Romaine Stamos. And that movie was very much of the Sic Vis Pacem Parabellum. It's like, here's Latin, memorize this. And I was like, so I got like this, and then I got that. I don't know, weird connection in my brain, not connected in any way. The whole, like, she turned herself in was a great twist. I was slowly on board, and I was like, okay, wait, so if it wasn't La'an's personal log, where did it come from? And then, like, once, like, she started drilling into her, I was like, I got it like a second before. Like, I was not ahead of the game. But then the whole big twist at the end of getting her to admit everything, and then the, like, cut scenes were phenomenal. They were very well done. I loved the actress that played, what would that be, the defendant? My biggest complaint of this whole episode, the only complaint I probably have of this whole episode, is they don't say her name enough. Like, I want them to say her name all the time. Because, to be honest, like, they got to the end of the episode, and I was like, wait, what the fuck was her name? I had to look it up. It's, like, Nira Khatul. And I was like, no, like, they need to hammer that shit into us. Like, I want it said every 5 seconds, because she was a great character. I'm hoping we see her again. I'm not assuming we will, but I hope so. And yeah, she was phenomenal. Like, the way she held herself, her delivery, I bought it. I bought it as a lawyer. If they made a Law and Order Star Trek show and she was like the Mariska Hargitay, I would watch the fuck out of that show. Like, I don't even care. I'd love it. I'd be all about it. I'm curious what you guys thought about this as a companion piece. Like I said, would you watch this if it was edited, or do you prefer, like, instead of like A storyline, B storyline, like the first episode and this episode were 100%, like there weren't really subplots. Did you guys like that, or would you have rather have been a two-parter mixed together? Curious about that. What did you think about the whole Law and Order aspect? How would you compare this to Measure of a Man with Data? Let me know. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.